So you went on your own and you decided to start, I'm presuming after Google, you decided to start this agency. Um, what made you decide to do the agency thing instead of just go and look for another job?
So I was in this position where for the first time in my life, I could freely decide whatever I wanted to do. I didn't have I didn't have to listen to my parents anymore because I was already, above that age.
Woohoo!
I didn't have to study. I was done with that. I didn't have to listen to any boss. I didn't have to do any courses. And that situation itself was very exciting to me. And so I just thought, well, this is now or never. So let me just try it. If it doesn't work, I can always go back to finding a job.
Okay. All right.
So, and I'd also like put some savings aside. So I knew that if like for a couple of months this wouldn't work out at all, I wouldn't have to suffer or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess that's important as well, because I know when I left my job to start Neptune Design, I remember sitting in front of my laptop and thinking to myself, and I said this to Gabriella in the previous interview as well, you sit down and you realize this is the best feeling in the world, but it is the worst feeling in the world at the same time because you're building something from scratch and it's all on you. There's no person to ask. There are no resources. You are the main resource for your business, and it's your job to start building something from scratch. And I guess what I'm trying to ask you is this the first business that you've built from scratch, or is this just the most recent one that you built from scratch?
I would say it's the first serious one where, no, it's the first serious one. Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
first serious one.
Yeah.
And did you know until that point that you were entrepreneurial and it was something that you wanted to try out? Or is this just another part of your yes theory of just saying yes to bigger and bigger challenges?
I think it's part of the yes theory because, like, I don't come from an entrepreneurial family. It's not something I grew up with, not something I was taught or anything. So it was literally carving a path that I had no idea how it's going to look like. And what's always carried me through is trusting my intuition and framing my mind in a way that it leads me to success. Like I've become very good very very early on about managing my mind, the thoughts that are going on in my mind, and then replacing any kind of like negative thoughts or thoughts that wouldn't be useful to me with any more positive ones.
Wow.
And then seeing simply how things come to be because of that.
Wow.
So, I mean, you mentioned Tim Carey earlier. I totally love him.
Yeah.
He has this example where he always wanted to have this bike, but he couldn't get it because his family, I think, was too poor or something.
Yeah.
And then like 2 weeks later, someone had entered his name in like a draft, and then he won this bike, but like through someone else, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and that kind of describes a lot of my life. Yeah.
That is super cool. That is super cool. And
Yeah.
talk to me about the name Ajala. Where does it come
Yeah.
from? What are its origins and why did you want to call it Ajala?
Yeah, so when I was 18, I always wanted to work abroad or study abroad. So studying abroad wasn't possible, so I went with working abroad. And through a bunch of circumstances, and saying yes, I ended up in Nigeria working on this entrepreneurship project
Okay.
at 18 as a white girl, right?
Crazy for a white person to be in Nigeria. Let me just tell you that it's not
Yes.
it's not normal. Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, a couple of weeks before that, even one of my aunts like asked me, she was like, couldn't you look for an intelligent country? Literally translated from German, right? And so I ended up in Nigeria and um, had a great time with everything that I saw and experienced there. And as time goes on and passed, my friends there would start calling me Miss Ajala because of me traveling. And Ajala, I hope I'm not butchering it now, was a Nigerian traveler who traveled large parts of the world, I think, on his bike.
Okay.
And so when it came to like naming my company, I didn't want to use my own name.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, let me just take this and add a digital so it roughly says what it's about.
Yeah.
And I can
It's
always change it later.
That's
I didn't get a better
beautiful.
name, so I just kept it.
And it's a beautiful description because you are literally that person who's
Yeah.
traveling to different countries. You're into digital, and it's kind of like a digital nomad-y type of vibe as well. Wow. That actually that makes a lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense now. Okay. I'm gonna look at
Yeah.
that name differently.
And I think one thing that I want to add here as well is it is, or it reflects a little bit of effort from me to give people a different image about Africa or the countries in Africa, because a lot of people only, when they think about Africa, any country, they think about poverty and whatever, and crime, blah, blah, blah. But it gives me an opportunity to tell a different story, to open people's minds to, hey, there's a different side to this continent or to this country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell my friends in the USA, like Africa, there's no other place like it. Like you can't think about Africa like you think about it in Western terms. So I think in another place, or in other countries, they measure, your gross GDP, they measure the education level of the people. But if you spend 3 weeks in Africa, it could blow your mind because
Yeah.
everything is so much more diverse. Everything is so much more untouched by the developed world, and it's the type of beauty that people don't really understand until you're there. Like, it might not be that we have the best roads or we have the best anything, but if you literally just take a time and just breathe it all in and see what Africa is about, everyone of my friends that comes to Africa, they want to come back. They definitely want to come back. And it's weird because they don't have that same feeling when they visit, for example, maybe Portugal or some developed place, but they really want to come back to Africa. Like, there's this burning need inside of them to come back to Africa. So I always found that weird as somebody living in Africa, but having lived in England for 2 years, now I kind of get it. I kind of understand it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So we talked about your agency, Ajala Agency, and what I want to hear from you, because I like these types of questions, is what was your worst day at your agency? The day that you said, okay, I want to bury my head in the sand. I want to give all of this up. I want to walk away from Ajala. It's not worth it. What was that day like?
Yeah, I'm not sure it was always walk away from it. I think there were definitely a couple of moments where I thought about, okay, maybe I should get a job. So I mean, most entrepreneurs will have had that situation where they couldn't pay bills.
Yeah.
So I found myself in a situation where I couldn't pay my credit card. Like, it literally, like, some payments were coming in late, and I just didn't factor it in well. So and I talked with the credit card company, and instead of them being helpful, they actually like screamed at me and pretty much were like, why are you doing this? Who do you think you are? Like, do you think you can't just borrow any money? Like, they totally went like off the wrong way.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, I complained about it afterwards, and I was crying on that phone because I was like, I'm here trying to be really open and honest with you, and you're just pretty much making me
shutting you down. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really hard because I don't like owing anything to anybody, right? So, and it was about, I think, a period of like 2 to 3 weeks, which was a little bit tough, but I just tried to use my mind, just try to focus on the good things, and I knew that I was going to be able to
get out of
pay it because I had these payments coming in, and so, but that was a little bit tough. Yeah. I'd since like changed a whole lot of things so that doesn't happen again. So it was a very teachable moment.
Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this interview. I really appreciate it. And if you want to see the full version, you can click on this link over here. You can also contact me and Pamela at the links in the description below. I'll see you next time. Peace.